What is going on, guys? You're sorry, arms and I'm back with the YouTube video. So this video is going to be more of a educational type of video. Um, I got one DM and it was some guy telling me like, oh, how do you like? He keeps on entering. He has the correct bias. He has the clear draw of liquidity where price wants to go. Now he's just entering a little bit too early. Um, and what was some pointers that can help out with that, right? And even though I did give him like some pointers, I also kind of wanted to make a video about that as well. Again, not financial advice. I am not, full-time trader, right? But over the period of times where it's pretty much all screen time, right? The more screen time you have and the more you document, your trades and what you could have done better, what you did correctly, and just kind of just reviewing everyday markets, as soon as the market ends, maybe coming back later in the afternoon just to see on the higher time frame what the market actually did. It helps you build a deeper understanding on what you could be looking for that next trade and how you can prevent certain things, or prevent getting stopped out early even though you had the correct direction of where price wanted to go, right? um but quick update just overall, we officially have 10 Apex accounts now. It was really weird. Supposedly the 40% the $40 activation thing ends with the sale, and usually that's not how it is. So I bought some accounts, basically full ported them, and this is the trade I took, and this is the trade I'm going to be giving an example about, right? About today, about kind of not getting stopped out early, and even trying to catch the big move. Um, and it all comes down again just being a little bit more patient and being an observer of the market, and rather than just like having this fear of you trying to miss out on the actual move, right? But we need we need to remove that, that fear of, oh, like, what if this is the inverse that sends us to the moon, right? Realistically speaking, it's never going to be pretty. Realistically speaking, you're never going to get something like this. Obviously sometimes you are, right? Obviously sometimes you are, and it just sends you launching to the absolute moon, but for the most part it's not going to look like that, right? um so I kind of just wanted to talk about that. So let's say we do have, hold on, let me pull up something real quick. Cool. So let's say we have price, right? We have price and it's currently just building up. It's literally whatever, it's looking like this. And then we come back down, right? We come back down, and you're at this point in time, you're starting to think, okay, well, now we have buy side, right? Now we have some sort of buy side sitting at over here, and we do have, we just swept out some sell side, right? We just swept out some sell side, right? Um, by the way, I'm not that good at explaining things, so just try to take everything like with the bigger picture and trying to, piece it together for yourself. I'm not the best at explaining things, and this is like my first actual video doing stuff like this, right? Right. So we just took out sell side. Now, when we do take out sell side, there's two things you want to consider, right? Whether if it's going to be a displacement through that sell side, and what I'm talking about displacement is like we take out sell side, and we created a fair value gap during this time, and then price could potentially come back to the fair value gap and continue lower, right? So this fair value gap is basically a displacement candle that offers fair value, right, for price to maybe retrace back into and continue lower, or it could just be a clear sweep, right? So, but for this instance, it's just going to be a clear sweep, right? So now we just swept out sell side, and we can say we're also tapping into a higher time frame PDRA, which is a fair value gap, right? So fair value gap, right? So here's your fair value gap. Now, oftentimes, if you do trade inverse fair value gaps, there might be a little V shape, right? There might be a little V shape, and then you enter off this V shape, and then you just get completely dusted, right? You just get completely dusted. Let's say you entered like this. Oh, sorry, give me a sec. Why does it look like that? Right? Let's say you entered something like this and you absolutely just get dusted, right? Well, first of all, you're not actually waiting for some structure to be formed, right? You're not waiting for structure to be formed at this point in time. And you have to keep in mind that you your best friend is structure, right? Your best friend is going to be structured because that oftentimes gives you like a break even point and something like that as well. But one of the things is what I find to be very important to stop getting um stopped out so early, and you have such a big fear of missing the move, is first of all, you need to be a little bit more patient, right? We need to be observers of the market. We need to stop predicting and actually doing those things. And it's just is like, obviously it's a habit, and it's definitely one of those bad habits that we need to kind of just get rid of. Um but as soon as you notice you have that habit, you slowly start to work on that habit, right? um so this is not ideal, right? We have zero structure here, and you're kind of just like, oh, this might be the move to the upside, right? And then for obviously all of us traders, this is ideal setup, right? Where we just skyrocket to the absolute moon, right? Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes that might work, sometimes it might not, but oftentimes you're going to be stopped out. And the reason being is because you're not observing. You're not observing, and you're not letting price come to you, and you're not waiting for the actual manipulation leg to give us that reason to continue higher. Now, what does that manipulation leg look like, right? Well, oftentimes you can wait for another manipulation leg, right? So it could have been something like this, right? So we came back down, we swept this, and you can also say there is some form of SMT. Now, this is when I use, these are the most valuable forms of SMT on that I like to use. And it kind of also just, relates to some sort of reversal after sweeping sell side, right? So let's go ahead and remove this. So we swept sell side. We did not displace through, right? There's no displacement here with fair value. We kind of just swept it, came back up, and at this point in time, we're building some structure, right? Now we have one more sweep here, sweeping out this low, and then we also have an SMT, right? Now, what is your job here? Right. So oftentimes, obviously, I'm looking for longs. If you're not looking for longs here, you might need to pack it up and just go do something else, right? What now needs to happen is there needs to be some sort of breakup structure or change in the state of delivery. If you don't know what that is, Justin has really good videos on those. You can watch TT Trades or something like that. Go ahead and look at those videos and maybe come back to this one. Give me a sec. Okay, now recording back. Anyways, so right. So what do I need to see here? Obviously, I'm looking for long. We're still tapping into a higher time frame PD array. We swept sell side, and we had this manipulation loop. You need to wait for the manipulation move. There needs to be a reason why price wants to continue higher, right? And oftentimes we like to jump the gun and then kind of just take a trade around this area, when ideally there is going to be one last manipulation move to the lows, or there's going to be some sort of S&T. Sometimes you might get both. Sometimes you might just get an S&T with ES, and that oftentimes is a clear indication of some sort of reversal, right? But now, where do you take the trade, right? Where do you take the trade? It might be something like this, or we might get one last manipulation move, and then we'll get the move to the upside, right? So what are you waiting for here, right? In order to take long, one of the things I really started to like implement in my trading oftentimes is literally a change in the state, right? So the change in the state of delivery would be, at this point in time, would be this, right? Again, if you know what a change in state of delivery is, then you're probably going to know what this is. If you don't, again, go ahead and watch TT Trades or Justin or something like that. So you change the state of delivery is right here, right? And this is a clear indication of some sort of breakup structure, or like some sort of market structure shift to the opposing side, right? So this could be a change in state of delivery, or this could be a breakup structure, whatever you want it to be. As soon as you see this, oftentimes you are going to see a displacement candle. This is the same candle that I was mentioning above here, right? A displacement candle, taking out some sort of high, but also creating a gap, offering fair value, right? So at this point in time, we're also at a discounted range, right? We're also at a discounted range, right? So this would be a discount to premium sequence. So then, right? So this is this offers a fair value gap, right? Now, there is also going, since it offered a fair value gap, price oftentimes, likes to retrace back into the fair value gap and then continue higher, right? So to the person who DM'd me about, getting stopped out early, even though he has the direct, like the correct bias of where price may want to draw towards to. I hope this helps, right? Now, of course, this is like obviously there's going to be some instances where we might just chop up here, and this is not like a clear, everything's going to look completely different, right? For the most part, price doesn't always look the same, but your methods of, waiting for the setup to actually happen is going to look the same, right? In terms of actual concept, where you wait for the change in the state, where you wait for the actual manipulation move, or, some sort of SMT, you're waiting for a fair value gap tap after sweeping out some sort of hourly sell side, and then to, basically to end up continuing longs, right? So I would oftentimes get stopped out here. And why am I trading here? There's no reason to be trading this. And this is kind of just you trying to predict and trying to, not catch, like, you have a constant fear of, missing out on the actual move. And you might be like, oh, there's a really good single inversion here with momentum right over here. And I actually ended up getting stopped out. Right. And it's just because, again, you're not waiting. You might be a little bit too zoomed out, and you're not waiting for the actual moment of when to strike. Right. Again, we need to be observers of the actual market. And you also have to remember, like, wow, what was I saying? I think it was higher time frame holds higher power. I think I said it earlier in the video as well. Yeah. The higher time frame holds higher power. The higher time frame is literally going to be your best friend, and the reason being is because the higher time frame just basically paints a story, and that's when we go into the lower time frame to kind of just catch our trade, right? We're intraday day traders, right? The higher time frame is more for like a swing trade. For us day traders, we're in and out within 5 to 10 minutes, right? Or unless you're holding a runner and it's like absolutely going crazy, your trade might be going on for a little bit longer, right? So oftentimes, if we're getting into some chop, there might be a 1 minute change to the state delivery, which is a little bit scary because we're in some chop, right? Now, what I like to do when we're in some chop and I want to see some manipulation down over here, I just like to sit on the 5 minute or 15 minute, right? And this is a perfect like example. I took this trade right over here that I'm going to talk about is a clear example of what I did today, or just a clear example of what this is, right? So let me go ahead and actually I don't need to delete it. All right. Again, hopefully you guys are understanding, right? On the reason, and hopefully this helps here too as well. So on the higher time frame, again, just zooming out, we just swept some liquidity, right? We just swept all of this liquidity just resting right over here, and we came back down and ended up sweeping this hourly liquidity, right? This hourly engineered low. Now, actually, I'm gonna delete this. This is kind of bothering me a bit. Now, so it came same concept, right? We just swept sell side. What am I looking for? I am looking for manipulation to the lows. And again, earlier I talked about either displacement or just a sweep, right? Now, here we are. We pretty much swept this. We're currently here, and I'm waiting for the candles to tell the picture. Now, what do I mean by that? Right? We keep sweeping. There is no actually displacement candle, right? There's no candle that displaced all the way here that created a fair value gap and that we could potentially, retrace back into and then continue lower, right? As you can see here, this is only wicks that keep sweeping, right? So we do have an internal sweep right over here, and then we just have a bunch of other sweeps. Now, what am I looking for? As you can see, let me go ahead and look at the 5 minute. As you can see, after such a massive move, what are you going to expect? You're going to expect some chop, right? Price is kind of just, trying to find its picture on where to go. And this is a clear example of entering too early, right? You might be a little bit too zoomed in, right? You might be like, oh, yeah, look, there's a 1 minute for value gap right over here. Wow, looks so cool. We swept this internal. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take this long. Look at this momentum here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this candle stop here, and I'm gonna, be aiming potentially for this high. And then you get cooked. The reason you got cooked is because you're not waiting for the actual manipulation leg. Again, I mentioned you have to wait for structure to be formed, right? You have to wait for price to build the picture for you, right? This is you trying to catch the big move up because you have a constant fear of, oh, I'm gonna miss it. If you miss it, it's perfectly fine. Like, why do you care so much if you're gonna miss the trade? You have the next day to trade, you have the day after, there's plenty of opportunity to catch the trade. There's no reason for you to be like, oh, I'm gonna miss it, this is gonna be a banger, and you get stopped out, right? Why are you getting stopped out? Well, again, earlier I talked about waiting for the actual manipulation after structure, right? So let me go ahead and zoom back. So this is the 5 minute, right? This is the 5 minute, and we actually come back down. We have this sweep down over here, right? Now we do have a displacement candle, but we actually ended up just inversing this pretty nicely. Now this is where you could potentially take a trade, right? Because we already have some structure, right? So we have some nice break-even points, or this might eventually even be, the buy side that you might be looking for, right? I'm gonna go ahead and remove this change of the state, right? So we swept sell side. We have structure here, even though it's a little bit chopped. We waited for the actual one more manipulation move, right? We created a displacement, but the thing is though, after this displacement candle is formed, there's an inverse for value gap, right? So inverse for value gaps or higher probability to catch a reversal, right? So you could have entered something like this. Stop at this low, and then, you could have targeted like these highs over here, right? This would have been a 1.3 RR, right? And this would have hit. This would have been perfectly fine, right? It would have came back up here. Maybe you would have been a little bit of drawdown, but it ends up hitting your TP fully. And this trade, again, would have worked because, there's one more clear manipulation leg. Again, like I showed you guys an example earlier. And, we move to the upside, right? So this is, an inverse for value gap trade, as you can see here. Now, ideally, I did not want to take this. The reason being I did not want to take this is just because, again, look at this 5 minute, look at this 15 minute. If I go in the hour, it's going to look even worse. This is literally barcoding moving sideways. And ideally, when price is just moving absolutely sideways, what I like to do is I need to wait for some higher time frame breakup structure or change in the state of delivery. So I'm just observing. For price, right? I'm observing for price, what price wants to do. So actually we come back down. We actually ended up, kind of just taking out these highs. Now we didn't displace through them, offering fair value, as you can see here, right? We kind of just came back up, swept, ended up, we had some internal manipulation here as well. Again, the candles literally paint the picture for you, right? So again, I'm just waiting, right? And at this point in time, I see that we have a 15-minute change in state of delivery, right? So here is the most frequent low, as you can see, and here is your change in the state on the 15-minute, right? So here is change in the state, right? So I'm waiting. If I want to take longs, I need to see us run this change in the state, right? So we run this change in the state, but price is actually literally just kind of just hanging around here, and we come back down and we have one last manipulation move, right? Again, manipulation. It's going to become one of your best friends. And as soon as you start waiting for the actual manipulation move, I promise you, your trading is going to get a lot way better. I promise you. Because at that point in time, it eliminates you from, stop getting in there a little bit too early before the actual move happens. Now, there might be, the market doesn't move the way we want it to. So there might be, a lot of manipulation, right? We might just come back down to manipulate a lot more. But the thing is, though, I really like the fact that here we did have, an SMT. So we had one last manipulation move. We had an SMT with ES, and we actually come back up and we close. We have a good, strong displacement candle over this 15-minute change in the state, right? or now the change in the state ideally would be, this is a very ugly change in the state. But this is the change in the state, right? So from this low, or you could pretty much make it from this one. I like using the one that creates the lowest low, as you can see here. So this is the lowest low between all of these. So this 15-minute, so I'm still waiting for this 15-minute. I want to see a displacement candle through this 15-minute change in the state. And we actually do get that, right? So again, waited for manipulation. We have SMT, which is a good sign of a reversal. We have a change in the state with a good displacement candle offering what? Fair value. Fair value, right? Now, where is my draw? So this what makes it a little bit, this what makes this trade a little bit scary for the most part. This is no man's land, right? We do have a big hourly fair value gap sitting at right over here. But again, of this price range, equilibrium sits right over here. So this is what I was looking for. You know, basically equilibrium, or maybe tap into this hourly range, and then price could do whatever it wants, right? Not only that, as you can see here, after this 15-minute change of state, we actually have a hourly candle here that displaces through it, offering fair value, right? Again, higher time frame paints the picture. I promise you, as soon as you stop being too zoomed in on the 1 minute and 5 minute and actually check the higher time frame, it is definitely going to level up your trading. Right, so hourly time frame, right? We do have a fair value gap, but the trade I took was on the 5 minute, right? Yeah, so 15-minute change of state, displacement candle through the change in the state, offering fair value. Now, what am I looking for here? Now, I am looking for a potential trade to the upside to, you know, maybe equilibrium of this range, or just tap into the hourly fair value gap, right? So here I'm interested. I'm interested for longs. I waited for price to basically paint the picture. I waited for the manipulation move. I waited for break of structure, the change in the state. We actually come back, tap this 15-minute change in the state. We do have a nice clear singular fair value gap here on the 5 minute. We pretty much end up closing above this. I entered a little bit early, and then pretty much rode this, right? Pretty much rode this to this high. And although we didn't get final TP, that was the trade to get this 3000 right over here. I literally sent it with like 3 minis. Again, Apex has been pretty tricky with that. I was gonna buy the accounts on Monday and kind of just take my time, but I saw like, I'm not full porting on Monday. I'm surprised I was full porting on Friday. Monday and Fridays are arguably my worst days for trading, right? And yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it. Again, if you have a problem of, you know, getting stopped out a little bit too early, or entering a trade a little bit too early, it is most likely because you're not waiting for one last manipulation, right? One last manipulation. You're not waiting for price to actually paint the story for you. You might be a little bit too zoomed in, right? You just have to remember, zoom out, let price show you what it wants to do. And I promise you, the longer you wait and you just sit back on your chair and you just wait, eventually you're going to see a setup, right? You let the setup come to you. There is no reason why you should be actively, you know, looking for a setup, right? You should have a point of interest. You should kind of be knowing like what you want to see, right? So for the most part, what I want to see is, after sweeping this, I want to see some structure be formed. I want to see manipulation. I want to see some sort of SMT here. Let me go see if there's a fair value gap, right? Oh, look, 5 minute fair value gap, right? Look at that, 5 minute fair value gap here with manipulation and an SMT. I'm like, okay, well, this is good. You know, I'm starting to get interested here. Okay, I want to see, you know, a change of state of delivery. I want to see some sort of break of structure, some sort of market structure shift, right? We do get that. We do get a nice displacement over that. We retap back into the change in the state. I have a good entry model right over here, and I take it for some longs, right? Again, it's, the more you see it, the more you practice it, the more you kind of get more screen time with it, the more you start, you know, to know what you're looking for, and you become a less hands-off, right? Yeah, so again, really good stuff. It all comes with market screen time. Again, I'm not a full-time trader. All of this has just, I've learned this from YouTube, literally YouTube, and you just incorporate it into your own trading. Like if you want to learn more about this, Justin does a really good job. He is one of the best price readers out there, just shooting free content on YouTube. Where you could definitely, if you watch Justin's live streams on YouTube, like go to his old live streams, he literally goes through his thought process on what he wants to see. What changes the state, changing the states, manipulations, SMTs, and all of that stuff. Right. You just have to sit down and actually, watch it. And the more you learn it, the more you consume it, the more you start to like see things, right? And I think that's a really important thing, that we could just apply what we learn on YouTube with the free content onto your trading, right? Obviously, it's gonna take some time, right? But I mean, the more you practice it, the more you jot down each trade, what you could have done better, what you did good. You just have to keep on cycling, keep on working on your stuff, keep on working on your craft, and eventually you start to see things. Don't get me wrong, like I will still get I will still enter sometimes a little bit too early just because I missed a few things, or a little too impatient, or I'm a little bit like impulsive. And don't get me wrong, that's just human error. Like that's just how we work as humans. We just often make mistakes all the time. But yeah, but for the most part, like I know what I'm looking for, but obviously I still make little mistakes here and there. But for the most part, like I do have the bigger picture painted. My skill, or my problem and your problem, is just that we have to polish it up a bit until we can actually, perfect our craft, right? So yeah. I hope you guys enjoy this video. This video is about to be 30 minutes long. God damn. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.